Hey everyone, my name is Nathan Cooper and welcome back to SIS Film Breakdowns. With the Big Ten getting their start to the 2020 season this weekend, we're going to preview some of the top draft prospects in the conference. From players like Chris Olave at Ohio State, to Jalen Mayfield at Michigan, to Tanner Morgan at Minnesota and more, we'll see what traits make these guys NFL prospects and show how some of them fared statistically last season. Let's start with Ohio State. Ohio State is again the clear favorite in the Big Ten, led by a bunch of big-time underclassmen including Justin Fields, Chris Olave, and Shaun Wade, and Oklahoma transfer running back Trey Sermon. The Buckeyes are poised to have another great season and plenty of players called early on in the 2021 NFL Draft. We're going to take a look at and highlight Olave and Fields. Let's start by watching a play from Chris Olave from the Indiana game last year. Olave is a very good route runner and has an incredibly large catch radius with good hands. This play is going to showcase all of those traits. He's lined up at the top of the screen wide to the right of the offensive formation and is going to run a deep comeback at about 20 yards. Now at the snap, he shows good quickness and explosion off the line and into the route. Now we see some of the savvy in the route here as he drops his weight to get the corner thinking he's cutting it off, but gets back up to speed quickly. The corner now thinks he just ran a hitch and go, and he's now got to quickly turn and accelerate so he's not beat deep. Now when Olave breaks the route off for the comeback, the corner has no chance to contend at the catch point, and Fields throws a good ball on the run, but Olave has to reach out nearly to the edge of the white to make this catch and showcase his strong hands and good sideline awareness and body control for the reception. Justin Fields was one of the most dominant players in all of college football in 2019. Completing over 67% of his passes, he threw for nearly 3,300 yards and 41 touchdowns with only 3 interceptions. His IQR ranked 4th in the country at 132.4. However, one thing he'll need to clean up in 2020 is his on-target accuracy, which sat at just 73.2%, which ranked him 48th. Penn State has their fair share of prospects that could hear their name called early in the draft yet again this season. Arguably the biggest of which is Micah Parsons, who has decided to opt out of the season and declare for the draft. That's a big blow, but guys like Journey Brown, Pat Freiremuth, and Shaka Toney should help make up for that loss. Let's take a look at Toney and Freiermuth and see what to expect from them this season. We're going to take a look at Shaka Toney against Pittsburgh. Toney is a quick and explosive speed rusher. He's lined up in a wide 9 here to the left side of the offensive formation, and it's late in a close game. We'll take a look at both angles, with the first being in real speed to see just how quick he is off the ball. Now at the snap, we see that quickness and explosion here. He makes a long first step and gets the tackle chasing right away. At the apex of his rush, he shows good ankle flexion and bend to flatten and get to the quarterback for the sack. Now on the other view, we get a really good look at his quickness, flexibility, leverage, and bend to get to the backfield for the sack at a huge point in the game. After initially opting out, Pat Freiermuth is back in for the 2020 season. When looking at last season's numbers, it's easy to see why he's so highly regarded. He hauled in 43 passes for over 500 yards and 7 touchdowns. His absurd 95.5 on-target catch rate ranked 3rd among all tight ends with at least 50 targets, and his 126.9 receiver rating tied for 2nd. For the Wolverines, they have another new young and up-and-coming quarterback, but still have plenty of pieces elsewhere on both sides of the ball. Chris Evans is back from missing all of 2019 due to a suspension. Both him and Nico Collins will look to provide a spark on the offensive side of the ball. Their top corner, Ambry Thomas, has opted out of the season, but edge rushers Kwity Paye and Aiden Hutchinson will wreak havoc on opposing quarterbacks. Let's take a closer look now at Paye and offensive tackle Jalen Mayfield. Starting with Jalen Mayfield, he's at right tackle for the Wolverines. This play is from the Notre Dame game last season and focuses on him in pass pro. Pre-snap, he has a stand-up rusher on his inside shoulder and a wide 9 out to his right. Now at the snap, he whips his head around to focus on the wide 9 right away. However, Notre Dame runs a game with him and 44, who is lined up to his inside. While he doesn't show great awareness to get his head around quick enough to see it coming, Mayfield shows good ability to recover here, stay balanced, and anchor the edge. In 2019, Kwity Paye made 49 tackles and only had one in which was broken. In terms of rushing the passer, he amassed 33 pressures and 6.5 sacks. If he can build off of those numbers this season, Michigan's defense will be a force to go up against each week, and Paye's name just might be called fairly early come draft time. Let's shift to the Big Ten West now. Wisconsin lost some top-end talent from last season, including Jonathan Taylor and Zach Bond, but returned some talented players for 2020. Quarterback Jack Cohn will miss at least the start of the season after foot surgery, but tight end Jake Ferguson should be a good security blanket for a new quarterback. We're going to highlight Ferguson and safety Eric Burrell to see what they bring to the field for the Badgers in 2020. Let's start by watching Jake Ferguson against Michigan State. Ferguson needs some improvement as a blocker, but it's clear his strength is as a receiver. He's lined up as a tight end off the ball on the left side of the formation, and he's going to just run a flat out to the left. It's evident he's smart and savvy and knows how to release off the line and run routes. Now at the snap, he gets wide and gives a subtle rip to make sure he's not knocked off balance in his release. After getting to the flat, he catches the ball cleanly with his hands and then shows the ability to make defenders miss, and then also shows the FBI to reach out for the first down here. Eric Burrell returns as one of the most veteran players on Wisconsin's defense, having played 41 games entering 2020. He finished up 2019 with 57 tackles and only allowed 7 completions on 21 throws his way. He also grabbed 3 interceptions, which tied for the team lead. Minnesota had a great 2019 season and comes into 2020 poised for a similar outcome. Although having lost Tyler Johnson on offense and some big-time talent on defense, which includes Antoine Winfield Jr., they still have some players that could hear their name called early in the 2021 draft. Quarterback Tanner Morgan and wide receiver Rashod Bateman are one of the most productive and dynamic quarterback-receiver duos you'll see in college football. Let's see what both of those guys bring to the field for the Gophers. Tanner Morgan has proven to be one of the top quarterbacks in all of college football, and for good reason. This play against Penn State shows some traits as to why. He's got trips left against zone coverage, and at the snap, he starts out looking that way and even gives a subtle shoulder fake to get the safety on the right side of the field, take a step to his left, and leave Bateman alone down the sideline. Morgan makes a good throw here, keeping the ball away from defenders and connecting with Bateman for a big gain. We already broke down Bateman in a video a couple months ago, but with him also reversing his decision to opt out, I figured we should highlight him again. With Tyler Johnson gone, Morgan will be relying on Bateman more than ever across the middle. On slant and dig routes, Bateman caught 20 of 24 on-target passes for 245 yards and a touchdown, while also gaining a first down on all 20 of his receptions on these routes. Iowa is always one of those teams that lurks around and pulls off a big-time win in conference play. Even after losing Nate Stanley to the NFL, they return some key pieces that should help them compete again and also hear their name called in the draft. Leading receiver Ihmir Smith-Marsette returns to give the new quarterback a proven weapon on the outside, while the surprise return of Alaric Jackson should anchor that offensive line. Jack Heflin and Chauncey Golston should provide some production along the defensive front as well. Let's take a closer look at Heflin and Smith-Marsette. Iowa got a solid grad transfer in Jack Heflin from Northern Illinois, who is a versatile guy that can play 3 technique in an even front and even kick out to 5 tech in an odd front. Here against Nebraska last season as part of the NIU defense, Heflin is lined up in a 3 tech to the right side of the offensive formation. At the snap, he's going to get doubled, and instead of giving up a ton of ground and being completely washed out of the play, he does a good job here with his hands to fight between the blocks and find the ball carrier. Not only does he find the back and wrap him up, but he's also able to jar the ball loose and create a turnover for his team. He'll see Nebraska again on November 27th, this time in an Iowa uniform. Last season, Ihmir Smith-Marsette led the team with 722 yards on 44 catches for the Hawkeyes. He also hauled in 5 touchdowns and had an on-target catch rate of over 90%. With Nate Stanley moving on to the NFL, Smith-Marsette will need to step up again in a big way to provide his young quarterback a security blanket in 2020. Having just looked at some of the top teams, there are still some solid prospects throughout the rest of the conference. Rondale Moore from Purdue originally opted out, but he's back in to show off his speed and quickness at the receiver position. Northwestern's Rashawn Slater is a strong athletic offensive lineman, but has chosen to opt out of this season and declare for the NFL. Linebacker Tyshawn Fogg is a team captain and the quarterback of that Rutgers defense. Defensive tackle Roderick Perry at Illinois was one of the top FCS grad transfers from South Carolina State. And Brendan James is a big athletic left tackle for Nebraska. Don't sleep on these guys heading into the draft process. Make sure to go get the SIS Football Rookie Handbook or register for a free trial on the SIS DataHub to see all of these stats and more for every player, and also tune in each week to the Off the Charts podcast. Thanks for watching SIS Film Breakdowns.